right now on Higher Journeys Radio with Alexis Brooks. Discussion about the idea of ET-human hybrids is not new. But recently, there's been an uptick in attention on this part of the phenomenon that we call ET reality. The possibility that a large hybridization program has been and continues to be underway is also gaining momentum within ufology circles. The hit TV series Ancient Aliens has even dedicated a show in the recent past on hybrids. And in that particular episode, they featured the person you are about to hear from. Robert Frost Fullington calls himself one such individual, part ET and part human. As tough as this may be for some people to believe or wrap their minds around, hybrid humans may be walking amongst us each and every day. If you were to pass Robert on the street, you would never know he has qualities different from any other person. But when you hear his story, you'll know something quite different and otherworldly is going on. Here now is my chat with Robert Frost Fullington. What a pleasure it is to have you back on the show, Rob. You know, it's hard to believe it's been over 3 years, closer to 4 years actually, that you first joined the show along with the author of Meet the Hybrids, Miguel Mendonça, to talk with us. And, you know, I recall you had just returned from the UFO Congress in Arizona, where you spoke along with several other individuals featured in Miguel's book, Meet the Hybrids. And I know a lot has changed for you since that sort of coming out. You know, there's been quite a lot of attention on you recently, including being featured both on Ancient Aliens, as well as a very, very emotional testimony you gave that appeared in the documentary film Extraordinary: The Seeding. This documentary in particular, which I saw some time ago, I think it's been within the year, I have to say was one of the most touching and even disturbing I've heard from you. Yeah. What you discussed and how you dealt with the multitude of interactions in your life up until now. What was it like going so deep like that in front of the cameras for this film in particular?
With those guys, it was actually really easy. They had like a energy about them that was really easygoing, and I just felt comfortable with the whole crew. And so yeah, it just kind of flowed naturally, you know. Yeah, so it was, and then of course doing a couple things here and there beforehand, like a interview, doing your show and stuff, really helps. Really helps with letting the information flow smoothly.
Sure, yeah, but it was so emotional. I recall you, Melinda Leslie, some in our audience may know that name, as well as several others. Talk about a little bit, just for those who haven't seen The Seeding, Extraordinary: The Seeding. We will make sure to have a link. It's a fabulous documentary, just visceral in terms of people that are having these very anomalous, still mysterious experiences and how you're responding to it. What was it? Talk a little bit about what you shared, if you to your recollection, because I know there's been a lot. Your life has been full.
I pretty much went into everything with them. I mean, we had hours upon hours, a couple of days worth of filming, you know, a lot of stuff that got cut out. That'd be really cool too for people to see, you know, so, but yeah, pretty much I went into a lot of stuff with them. Of course, there's a lot of things you can't really share, but for the most part, yeah, I was able to tell them everything. They have a whole really cool, full story there.
Well, share with the audience, if you would. Now, in the intro, we discussed the fact that, and this will be, you haven't heard it, but of course our audience has heard it, that you feel yourself to be hybrid, yourself to be hybrid. And we're going to go into that more. But as far as the show, the documentary is concerned, you talked about some of the challenges associated with that. Yeah. Maybe you could share a couple with us right now.
Oh yeah, you know, one of the cool things about the documentary that they kind of like pointed on that I've always felt like I wanted to talk about was the human side of the experience, right? Because in the end, I am a person, trying to live as normal life as I possibly can, which is now, forget it, it's never going to be normal again. But the struggle with trying to go through these experiences, just mind-numbing experiences, and then trying to go to work, pay your bills, and try to maintain this program, if you want to call it that, right? And I was really, I think that was one of the reasons why it was easy to talk to them, because that's what they were pointing on. I was like, oh man, yeah, they're really about that.
Wow, yeah. Well, again, I'm going to encourage everyone to go see. I know it's still available. Extraordinary, the seating. I'm sure it's available on several platforms. We'll make sure that we have a link, as well as if I can find the episode for Ancient Aliens that might lead you there. I think it was pretty unprecedented that Ancient Aliens tackled the hybrid part of the story. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that a little further. But listen, for the audience, before we go any further, I want to share with the audience, Rob, a short clip from the audiobook Meet the Hybrids, of which you were prominently featured. Now, I had the pleasure of narrating this book, and I have to say, playing you, Rob, in this regard was probably the most emotional, invigorating, and engaging for me to do as a voiceover artist, and I've done a lot of voice work. One of the most powerful I've ever done. So in this little segment, you were being asked by the author simply, how did you learn you were a hybrid? And here's what you had to say. When I started researching the ET subject, I noted I had many similarities with other ET experiencers. As far as I can remember, I started to have encounters at around age 5 when I received my implants under my tongue. Then, between 5 and 10 years old, there were some random encounters. Between 13 and 16, I would wake up with odd marks on my body and blood spots on my pillow. It went flat in my late teens and 20s until a big awakening at around 28, and now in my 30s. I have a decent understanding about my identity and my place in the universe. Full realization comes on slow because at first you have to start questioning your experiences. It's subtle things here and there, like my wrist, for example. I was born double-jointed in my wrists. People gave me the nickname the Mantis growing up. When I got into martial arts, I created my own Mantis style, which I incorporated into my other styles, partly because my wrists were more flexible, and I had to develop a method of punching that would work for me. At 29, I was fully activated, which was 2009. It was a life-changing event where my wife and I were out in the yard one night, and we had a 45-minute encounter with this huge black triangular craft flying slowly and silently over the house. It was so low, I could have hit it with a rock. That got me started on my journey, and things just snowballed from there. So, Rob, really, you were getting very distinct clues that something unusual was going on with you from an early age. The first thing I want to ask you is, you said you were having random encounters at 5 and 10. What were some of those encounters, if you could share with us? If you're enjoying this episode and want to get more conversations about all things intriguing, inspiring, and unusual, be sure to subscribe to Higher Journeys on YouTube. And once you do, don't forget to hit that notification bell to receive an announcement as soon as a new episode is posted. And now, back to our show.
Oh my goodness. Of course, at the time, not knowing that I was connected in any way to that, I used to have dreams when I was really, really young, and there would nightmares, if you will, right? They're like, I just remember feet running around chasing me, right? And then there was just like these pale white feet that were good. I know it sounds odd, but you're thinking of the mind of like a 3 to 5 year old here. And there would always be a physical sound in the room before I had these dreams. It was like a. I'd actually hear that, and I knew that was going to be like, oh, okay, the feet are coming.
So you were awake when you were hearing these sounds?
Yeah.
And then you would go into the dream state. Okay.
Yeah, and then one night I had this dream where I was at my great grandmother's house, and I had this dream where there was this dark entity in the house, and I was trying to save everybody from it, and it touched me and it burned. I remember feeling an intense burn on my shoulder, waking up and seeing a handprint burned on my shoulder.
Really?
Right? Yeah, and I remember that freaked me out as a kid, you know. But you know, a dream. I was staying at in my aunt's room and sleeping on the floor, and I thought, carpet burn or something, you know. But now looking back, I'm like, okay, that was one of the things. Getting my implants in
Yeah, talk about that. You said that you found some under your tongue.
under my
What?
tongue. Yeah,
Yeah. What? Why? I mean, implants. We know that we know are well known to research in the field of ufology, and it was, I believe, the late Roger Lear who really dug into, no pun intended, to what this was about and the fact that they were alien implants. Why under the tongue for you, though? I mean, they're found all over the body, but why under the
yeah.
tongue, you
I
think?
have no, I have no idea. I have no idea. Maybe so I know they're there or
Are they
something.
still there?
They're still there.
Really?
One's like it's like a small grain of rice. The other one's like a really tiny BB, you know, non-metallic. Sometimes they'll pop out of their little set and then start spinning around and feeling uncomfortable. Yeah, and I know
Under
they're
your
there.
tongue.
Hmm.
So, does this affect your speaking or when you're eating
No,
or
no, no. Just only when they pop out, then I just like, oh, they're popping out, or I'll just become aware of it all of a sudden. You know, yeah. Throughout my life, I first when I was a kid, I thought it was cancer in my mouth. You know, we were having a school book reading about childhood cancer, and the kid started having tumors in his mouth, and I was like, oh my God, there's tumors in my mouth. And
hmm,
my mom assured me that no, son, everybody has lumps in their mouths, and I just went on with it for my life, not realizing what it was. Now I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
well,
That
how
makes
do you?
sense.
Okay, so I want to stay on this for a minute, Rob. How do you know that these are actually implants? Have you had this checked out by
Yeah,
anyone?
I
You have.
have. My dentist has no idea what they are. I don't know what those are. They don't show up on the X-ray either.
They don't.
No, they
That's
don't show up on the
interesting.
X-ray. Yeah, yeah, and you can pull them. You can pull on them. You can take like a pair of tweezers and grab them through the skin and pull on them. I had a magnet stick to them a couple times, but then it won't stick sometimes. You can even hear the click, like a click. And it's like I don't know what the heck is going on with that.
Do you have
So
a sense if you were to go deep here and just I'm sure you've thought about what I mean that's the big question with any implants. I mean the first thing you would think is that it's some sort of a tracking device, but could it be more than that? Is it have you thought about that? I mean let's
yeah, I have
and you
thought
have
about
no
it.
idea.
Well, you got to kind of think abstractly, obviously, right? So the thought of is kind of abstract, but I mean, I've always had if I was just to think abstractly and just kind of like, what could it be? Maybe it's some kind of vibrational device in order to help anchor my consciousness for someone within this body. Now that's
Yeah.
like that's my abstract off the wall, but uh,
Right.
a ground. Let's go with a grounding, uh, uh, logical. I would say definitely a transmitter of some sort.
Do
Some
you
kind.
feel that you are entitled to know given that it's your body?
Yeah, I would feel that way, but you know what? I've learned that over the past 10 years of experiencing this is that yeah, these answers are really hard to come by. Yeah,
Yeah, well, of course they are, and I'm
yeah,
I'm certainly not trying to make it look at this in a vacuum. You can't.
yeah,
You can't
yeah,
look at it. It's such a mystery, and yet I say that to the extent that us humans are involved, there is a part of us. Well, I always say, again, no pun intended. We have skin in the game, meaning that we're a part of this phenomenon. So shouldn't we be conscious of what's happening, at least to the extent that we can understand? Maybe we're just not ready to understand. I don't know. But
yeah.
you talk about at 29 and you're 39 now. you felt yourself to be fully activated. What do you mean when you say activated? How so?
Oh, geez. It's at that moment. It's when you fully have dissolved like all your old belief systems, for one, religion, how you think the universe works. Just throw all that wonderful stuff out the window, and then it becomes where it's an everyday part of your life. I had my boss and a friend of mine now who would be a good example of fully activated. He was kind of skeptical at first, and then finally, after years, I always told him, I was like, man, you're going to hanging out with me as long as you are, you're going to see something crazy. And sure enough, one day, we had a pretty good, obvious UFO encounter. And my wife and I are there looking at these things going overhead, and he's less like, beside himself. And I remember he's trying to hold my hand, and he's like, this is a beautiful moment. He's like, and he's looking at me and he's like, I don't get it, man. He's like, how come you're not all excited about this? I'm like, man, this is every day. I'm like, we see this stuff like, a few times a month, or,
really,
yeah. So I'm like, that's what it is. It's like when it's become such a integrated part of your life that something extraordinary to somebody else has become kind of an everyday thing. That's it. Right there.
How long was that particular encounter where you were with your friend?
That was after Meet the Hybrid. So,
but I mean, how long did the encounter last?
That lasted about, so it was 2 years ago. That lasted about 15 minutes or so.
Really?
15, 20 minutes, give or take. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
With a small encounter that told me that there was going to be a bigger encounter later. That was just a second. I saw a little ship on the drive home, and it's like, we're going to see. He's going to be able to see something, and sure enough, he was able to see something.
And did he change after that experience?
Totally changed. Yeah, he's full blown, having his own, by himself, seeing craft and stuff, and yeah.
Interesting.
It's happened to a couple friends of mine that they've started seeing things, and
Well, I say that because and I'm reminded of a gentleman who does stellar work in this and other aspects of the paranormal, Steve Mera. And I'll never forget when Steve shared with me some of the research that they had procured, some of the data in terms of length or duration of UFO sightings if they last in excess of 8 minutes. And there are a couple of other parameters, but typically if they last over 8 minutes, there is a good chance that it could be more than just a visual sighting, but in fact, a contact encounter. Do you have any indication that could have happened? Particularly for this person, that was more than just a sighting. Do you think something else happened there?
No, more just a sighting. Yeah, more just a sighting.
Really?
Okay. That one. Yeah. I've had experienced a missing segment of time with him before. We kind of roommated up for a minute there and I walked in and like for a flash saw like something standing over him. So yeah, he totally, eventually, stuff started happening to him. Yeah.
Okay, well, one never knows. We don't know. And I don't know that there's any hard and fast criteria for how it all works, but that's why I wanted to know whether the individual had changed in terms. Okay, very, very, that's stunning and yet not surprising.
Yeah.
So I want to go a little bit now, Rob. You were kind enough to say that you would share with our audience some of the additional challenges that you've experienced since that activation at the age of 29. I know it's been a tough road for you. What sorts of things had you been experiencing really on the anomalous side that you think maybe just sort of aftermath?
Anomalous stuff, yeah. Like kind of like what's been, the communication with nature, that's a big one. That's a really big one. The becoming empathic Oh my goodness. That is the hardest thing in my book to have to
Okay.
deal with.
What is that like? Talk about that.
Okay, so imagine one day, one day, right? Uh, you're just a normal person, right? I have to admit, I obviously had this beforehand, but it really kicked on afterwards. Like if you walk into a store, right, and you have like, let's just say like 20, 30, 40 people there, right? All of a sudden you start feeling like you can literally feel the emotions of everybody inside of the store, right? You just start feeling the emotions of people. Sometimes it gets so strong where it's just like, I gotta get away, because you get this feeling of emotion from people. That was really hard to adjust to. Then there's the it goes, because people are really really psychic, right? So their field of influence is a lot greater than you would think, right? So then it gets into nature, right? And you start feeling like animals and trees and other things, and they kind of like start communicating in this really really interesting way, that's really hard to be able to adjust, especially when technically this kind of sensation doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, right? So you were
Yeah,
were you being faced with just questioning the validity of the experience itself? You,
exactly. Still
okay,
do.
you still
Still,
do.
still do. And the fact that I have to constantly uh, question is like, is it because the truth is so far out there that in this program reality that we all exist in, right? It's really hard to just, for me anyways, to freely express this comfortably, because it just feels uncomfortable, because I'm so used to, it's like I'm not going to go to the neighbor's house and just be like, I feel like you guys are feeling shitty today, and I've come here to brighten your day. It doesn't work that way. So you have to. It's like I feel like I have to keep it hidden and suppressed. Yeah. So that's hard. That's hard. And
So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and then there's the whole challenge of flying. I call it flying by the seat of my pants, right? Because really nobody knows exactly 100% of all this stuff. So you're trying to find all this information out. What is this? Why is it happening? So you have to kind of just like go by the seat of your pants, since technically it's a new frontier of exploration, since everything else has been everything else has already been explored, and this is like the new frontier of exploration. So everything is new. The information coming out can tend to be new and completely against what everybody currently believes is possible.
Yeah. Well, I know that you, not only in the making of Meet the Hybrids, but beyond, have had occasion to get to know other individuals who believe
Yeah.
themselves to be hybrids as well. What was that like for you?
Oh man, I tell you, it's amazing. Thank God for other people, really, because you do get this isolation feeling, and start, thank God for my wife Megan too, for hanging out with me, and you kind of start developing a community with everybody, and we all kind of, help each other out, and yeah. And then the confirmations that we have with each other, as far as like, oh, I was experiencing this. And it's like, oh my God, yeah. Yeah. So that helps with the confirmation of, and validating the experiences.
Was there ever one experience? I'm sure it sounds like you're still, I wouldn't say on the fence, but you're still just questioning. This would cause you to question the whole nature of reality, anybody.
Yeah.
But was there a particular incident, Rob, that gave you the epiphany without a shadow of a doubt? I am a hybrid. What I suspected to be true is true. Was there a moment? And if so, what was it?
Gosh. What was the exact, really thinking about it today, the exact moment, like I said, it's just what was it? It's just a pow. Because it was a gathering of experiences, but you're right, there was this exact moment where like all of a sudden my heart started pounding, and it was like, oh my God, that's the answer. And it's just trying. When did it happen? It was definitely after having my first contact experience, and then trying to figure out why is it that the experiences I was having so different than many people, and then how come I'm even having experiences, period, the end, when most people around me aren't, right? What is that? There's something unique there. And then, of course, there's the whole, like, okay, now I'm having other people starting to have experiences themselves, and I'm, like, directly responsible for. So what is that? And all of a sudden, I do remember having, I don't remember exactly when, but I remember having that is the answer. That is it.
You just know what you know.
Yeah, and then I did meet the hybrids, and I do have a split. There is a split within the UFO community, and I call it, you have your Barbara Lamb hybrids, and then you have your Dr. Jacobs hybrids, right? Yeah. Of course. And in the very beginning, I didn't want to recognize the negative aspect of it, but then, of course, meeting everybody else, and then having my own experiences into that negative aspect of the hybridization program, there is a lot of different agendas out there. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Barbara Lamb, bless her heart, is, I don't know that she is oblivious to the negative aspects, but she certainly likes to take the glass half full, as she should. But based on testimony, and I mean, look, we're, for the most part, dealing with anecdotal evidence as opposed to, absolute proof. This is more anecdotal in nature. We've heard both, and we've heard some, I know I've taken in some very, very mind-twisting stories, to say the least. I'm thinking of Charmaine de Rosario Sage. I'm going to mention her because she gave a lot of her testimony in Meet the Hybrids, and I've met and spoken with Charmaine and actually witnessed a couple of things having to do with some of these challenges, let's just say. But so they both exist. But let's talk a little bit more about what you feel yourself to be in terms of the species of being, and that was touched on in the little clip that we played, mantid or mantis. Many who follow the field of ufology, Rob, obviously have studied some of the species that we may be commingling with and are familiar with. And the mantid race is mentioned frequently. How did you come to know that your ET-DNA was from that species in particular?
Oh, yeah, that was actually an easy one. Yeah, really easy for me to come up with that realization. I met one, face-to-face, full conscious 3D manifestation of a mantis being, and that would do it. Yeah, and the way it was done, it was the whole contact experience. My mentor, Cynthia Crawford, right? And she had a Project Camelot video when I was, just coming into my awareness, waking up, right, going through some crazy stuff. I came across her video. I didn't know her at the time, and she had this, where she's bringing statues out, and she brings out this mantis statue, and I remember seeing it and being like, oh my God, I just felt this familiar feeling with the image of that being. And I ended up going to her website and checking out her statues, and I stared at the picture of the mantis statue for like a good hour or so, and went to bed. And you start hearing like a thing in your head saying, "I don't like that very much." And it's like, okay, what don't I like very much? So I feel this heavy voice in your head. It's like a conversation that I'm having. At the time, I thought that I was having a conversation with myself, right? Like I've lost my mind. And I saw this hatchet and that I had alongside the bed, and still, I don't like it very much. So I grab it, put it into the drawer. I still don't like it very much, but I'm not going to make you go outside. I'm like, what the heck, is this about? And I remember thinking, oh, dang. Am I going to have contact tonight? It's like, if so, I've heard about this. Don't wake my wife up. You might scare her. So go to sleep. I wake up. The room's just this golden light all throughout the room. There's this 6 foot, 7 foot tall mantis being on the foot of the bed. Don't think it like a skeleton, an insectoid type. I mean, there's a few different mantis types out there, but this in particular species of mantis has they have skin, right? They don't have this exoskeleton. They got fat. I remember seeing its little fat rolls on its belly, and that made me kind of giggle a little bit. Lime green skin on its back and white on its chest, and these massive forearms with this like really wrinkly skin, and then wrists that bend, all the way down, and fingers that touch the elbows, and long neck, big head, almond shaped eyes, and the being bowed to me. And I remember thinking, why are you bowing to me, dude? I'm just Rob. I'm just a normal guy. There's nothing special about me. And all of a sudden, this feeling of complete joy came over me, and this feeling like this is it. I found what I've been missing in my life. And this instant feeling of family, came over me, and it puts its hand out, touches me in the third eye, and I just black out. And from then on, I knew that there was a very unique connection that I had with these beings. And then, of course, after that, that was when I got in contact with our dear friend Cynthia, and she really helped me out from there.
I'm going to stop you just for a minute because I hear what some might think is a baby rattle in the background. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to have you. I don't want you to stay completely still because I know you have to be expressive, but the microphone is picking that up, and I want everyone to hear what you were saying, not the rattle.
It could be. No, it could be. I have a really, like I said, a massive windstorm going on, so you could be hearing, and I can. Yeah, I mean. It's blowing pretty bad.
Okay. I think it's something that because I can tell you're fine now. We'll keep it going. I'll let you know. It's okay. Journey yours now. I'll stop you because I want to make sure that everyone hears what you have to say. So, okay. So let's go back. Let's go back, Rob, to this experience. Now, was this at about the time where you were having the confirmation at 29? When did this?
Yes.
Okay.
This was after the big ship. Yeah, after the big ship encounter in 2009, which was the awakening. I call it my awakening, full-blown awakening experience, December 2009. So I'm coming up on a 10-year anniversary. Super cool. Gosh, I lost my train of thought now. Anyways, that was that ship experience. That was it.
You've obviously been regressed, right? I'm assuming because Barbara, in the course of doing Meet the Hybrids, did she regress you?
I have been regressed, let me think, 1, 2, 3 times.
Oh, okay.
That's it. Everything else is full conscious memory. Yeah.
And were you able during the regression to recover even more that you had been completely unaware of?
Yeah.
Could you mention anything?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get stuff out of you, right? I want to.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I have to prod because there's so much stuff I can't.
I know.
It's hard for me to go through the archives of my brain here. All right. So yeah. Let's say the third one. Okay, we had an experience where. Okay, so I'm trying to hold on. Give me a second to gather my thoughts here. Okay, so we have this experience where I wake up. There's this what some people call a tall white Zeta, all white skin, 6 feet tall, a light bulb head, right? Real long 3 fingers with long fingernails at the tip. Anyways, this being standing at the corner of my bed grabs my ankle. Right, I'm floating about 3 feet off the bed. Right, I'm fully conscious while this is happening. Right, it puts its finger up to its mouth and goes, shh. And so I black out, and then I wake up the next day. I wake up, and then I'm like in this. It was so very Fire in the Sky movie, right, where that film goes over them, right. same thing. Like this film was over me, but I can kind of see through it, and I start freaking out. Like I'm under these blankets, I'm trying to get out, and all of a sudden I see these hands tapping on the film, and they calm me down, right? And so that was. I woke up the next day on the news. A blue light was seen over the city that night, similar to the craft that in this is December craft. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I had that regressed, and that one, to come to, it'd take forever to go through the whole thing.
You don't need to. No, that's fine. But that was one that came out
Um,
during regression, is what you're saying.
yeah, and the intel that I got from that is, in my opinion, profound for myself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this got into the negative aspect of it, and it was there was like a table, a row of tables, right, and there was a bunch of people, and this was actually got into the stereotypical because you had this row of table, these smaller reptilian like beings with a long elongated skull, really razor sharp claws with three claws, and now I have had pictures of me where I've woken up and had these 3 claw marks just ripped all the way up my body, right? And I'm like, I've always wondered not where they came from. Now it's these guys. Now, what they were doing was that they were abducting people, taking DNA samples, right, and they were using them to create hybridized human beings. Now, the reason why they were doing this is because they were trying to find out. They're trying to create a being that could exist in the third dimension with a higher vibrational soul.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to find out why it is that, how is it that an ancient race of beings created these bodies to contain a higher vibrational soul, right? And the mantis beings I remember feeling this extreme sadness from the mantis beings, and trying to figure out why they were feeling so sad. And it was because they were sad because humanity had its chance. They felt that we had so much potential to go so far, and yet it's like we squandered that. A lot of our species squandered that chance, and it's almost like I don't know how to say it, but it's almost like it's like the judgment's been passed kind of deal, right? And it's just like waiting for the time of this event of whatever to.
So what you're saying is that we've reached the point of no return. The damage has been done and there's no turning back. Is that what I'm getting from what you're saying?
That was kind of like the feeling, but you have to think of it as like, as long as we're here, there's always a chance. But if you think of if you were to throw a toy boat in the middle of a stream, right, you can pretty much guess where that boat's going to go because it's in the main current. But there could be surprises. It could take off into a particular eddy or something, that's unforeseeable. But as far as the mainstream energy stream, and timeline stream, it doesn't seem like our future is too bright. But who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
As far as Earth changes and all that stuff, wonderful things.
So much of this has been talked about in terms of, there's still some people who feel that there is a rescue operation underway, that something's going to happen and some other race of beings will intervene, maybe, God himself. Obviously, this has been an age-old discussion, and yet I think what a lot of people are sensing is that we're, as the cliche goes, we're the change we've been waiting for. But either way, let's just hope that we're still... let's hope the jury is still out and that there is a chance. And I think that there's a lot going on right now in terms of the shifting of the tides, if you will.
Yeah, I have a good feeling about it. Yeah, I
You
really
do?
do. I
Okay.
do. I really do. Yeah, I have a good feeling about it. It does seem that human nature tends to be chaotic, so hard to predict which
Right.
way we're going to go, right?
Right.
I have a good feeling. I have a positive feeling. Yeah.
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 No, I know, and that came through in the book loud and clear. So
Yeah.
we're going to hold on to that.
Yeah.
Are you still having encounters with these beings, Rob, that you can
Oh yeah.
recall? When
Oh
was the
yeah.
last? What was the most recent that you recall?
Oh, geez, my last recent one. I mean, just a basic "Hey, how's it going?" was probably about a month ago. Oh, excuse me. But the last big one where I had a ship just kind of like dancing around doing some crazy stuff was probably a couple months ago. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, still around summertime, the end of
Mm-hmm.
summer.
And when you are in the presence of these craft, are there other people around that
Uh,
even traffic? I mean, where are you when you're seeing them?
I kind of on the outskirts of town a little bit, you know. And it's you know what? There's the weird thing about it. Uh, it's so blatantly obvious that there's a spaceship up there, but you know, no one would really even notice it because it's so like they're kind of obscure in a way. You know, you see it way out there, you know, up in space, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, I've seen it up close where they know exactly who's watching,
Mm-hmm.
right, at any given time, so they're able to turn themselves off if somebody can see it and is not prepared to see them or isn't
Sure.
supposed to see them. So,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
No, I've talked to a lot of people about that. I want to share with the journeyers and with you as well that I just about a few nights ago had what would I'd call a recurring dream, except each dream sort of has a different twist to it, of seeing a multitude of craft in the sky. I haven't had,
mm,
it's been a serial dream, and I haven't had it for probably a good year or more. And this is probably the fourth time, just a few nights ago, where they at first appeared to be cloaking themselves as clouds, even very, very unique
yeah,
shaped clouds, but then would morph into more of an obvious or more
hmm,
classical craft shape. Very, very clear. So I don't know whether
yep.
that would jive with what you've been
Oh,
feeling or seeing.
It happens to me all the time. Yeah, I've got pictures of it actually of where the craft would be in a cloud and then turn the cloud into like a definitive like number seven, right? And then shoot off, and I got a picture of like the cloud and then the craft off in the distance. I have it where I get the feeling, hey Rob, start taking a picture of snapshotting this cloud over here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start snapshotting it, and then a craft will manifest. A few craft will manifest, and then disappear. You know. So yeah, yeah. And then I've had it, you know, where they go. Is they're like little basketball kind of sized balls of light just up in the sky, you know,
Right. Yes.
and they play with the clouds. You know, I've had it where they play with the clouds, and then um, you know, a couple jets would come fly by, and you know, while the ship's there, and so yeah, it happens all the time.
Well,
That's
getting back to what Steve Mera said in the talk that we had about the duration of a sighting, he also says that it's estimated that every 8 seconds a craft of unknown origin is witnessed around the world. Every 8 seconds, and these are reported. Never
mm,
mind those that aren't reported. So they seem to be showing themselves a lot more these days. So
yeah, yeah.
well.
I love it. A good friend of mine. And here's a crazy thing. A good friend of mine, who's just started seeing stuff. He's at work and he's talking about you know, things that he's witnessed. And then everyone's curious about things I witnessed, and everyone's like, "Oh man, it's crazy!" But here's the cool thing. He's like out of the woodwork. People, you know, family and friends I've known for, you know, my whole life. All of a sudden they start like, "Oh yeah, I saw a spaceship." So it's like the everybody is seeing them, but
Mhm.
nobody's talking about it.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
that's one of
weird.
the reasons why we're doing this, because I want people, we've got to start talking about the elephant in the room. The
Oh,
elephant in the room, I think, is far more ubiquitous than, I'm sure, than we
yeah,
are letting on. So let's talk amongst each other. Listen, we're
yeah.
going to close this down. I can't believe it flew by, but I want you to let us know, what message would you like to send, Rob, to people listening out there about you, your life, the larger message for humanity? How would you sum it up?
Whew.
Just a
Wow.
little question.
General message is kind of like, wouldn't you say that, or is everybody kind of like tired of the same old, like, talking about it? Doesn't everybody kind of like want to start, I don't know, seeing something, right? And so my message is go out there, try to make your own personal contact, right? Getting groups together, go out and making group contact, man. I think it's time that we actually start applying the knowledge that we've all learned and that we're all talking about, and actually start showing, and doing. That's kind of like how I feel. Yeah, time to
Well,
start doing it.
absolutely. Well, we know that the CE5 groups are
Yeah.
growing, and then there's another protocol that was called or is called HICE, Human Initiated Contact Encounters, which I think is based loosely, at least, on the same idea of consciously calling in, initiating contact, or at least
Ah.
beckoning
Yeah.
the beings to
Yeah.
come, or the craft. So there is a lot going on.
Yeah. I go cowboy style. Just run out into the desert and see what happens. See what happens.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are all inextricably linked to this in some way, shape, or form, and
Oh,
you are certainly no exception, Robert Frost Fullington. You're a dear. I always enjoy speaking with you, and I appreciate your courage and your candor in coming out and speaking with everyone, and I know they appreciate that as well. So thank you so
no
much.
problem.
Thank you for your time. And
Thank you.
thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, Journeyers. As always, we love you. We're back. I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've done a show, but we're back now. So I'm glad that we were able to kick it off with Rob. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you real soon. Take care.